It's not that we don't love the Friday the 13th and Halloween franchises. It was our goal back in 2020 when we started the show to go through those two series film by film in order on those specific dates every year. But to pull back the curtain a bit, we got tired. Also, we got a lot of suggestions for short form horror and even one-off TV show episodes. And it's hard to get to those each week when we roll because we want a horror film to meet the random criteria, something with a 90 plus minute runtime, something that will fill a whole episode. And a 3 or 9 minute short isn't always going to cut it. So why not create bonus episodes to focus exclusively on horror shorts? We'll probably get to future adventures of Jason and Michael in the course of our random rolls, maybe. But for now, let's take a break from those bad boys and see what kind of scary short stories we can find. Oh, and here's how we created this episode's list of shorts. We asked our Patreon members, only $5 a month, and you get live streams every month for short form horror suggestions. And we got dozens and dozens, like over 100 suggestions. And I put those into a spreadsheet and used random.org to generate random numbers. I kept doing that until the total runtime of all selected shorts for the episode exceeded 90 minutes. And so, boom, here are 9 short films that we and maybe you two watched this week. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Which colors are creative?
Pink. Pink is pretty creative because it's a blend. Teal is a very creative color.
Yes, I agree. Teal, turquoise is a really nice one too.
Yeah.
I'm up in the air about purple. Purple seems like
purple is it a creative color?
It's kind of basic, but like variations in the realm of purple, like a mauve.
Ooh, yeah.
A lavender.
Mm-hmm.
Lavender is a very creative color.
Very.
So yeah, I grabbed a whole bunch of short films. The only one of these I had ever seen was Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Okay.
I'd seen these 6 short episodes that they made over the course of like 8 years or so. But yeah, I hadn't seen any of the others. I think the most popular one of all of these shorts we'll talk about is Lights Out.
Yeah.
Made into a feature film, not unlike Mama.
Yeah, Mama.
And some of these are real spooky, scary.
I know. Is it like, oh, my heart. Like there's something about short form horror that really allows you to just get to the scary bits.
Yes.
And so watching multiple horror shorts back to back to back, there's very little respite. It's like, oh, the credits are your chance to catch a breath.
This is where horror and comedy are very similar in that they work so well as short form. Whereas like, listen, we have a long history of literary short fiction.
Sure.
Your Ernest Hemingways and the like.
Yes.
But there's something about just get right to the punchline.
Yeah. We don't need character development if you have time.
I don't need backstory. In fact, what makes horror and humor so great is the unknown. So like when we talked about Mama, which I'd seen that short film, which we won't talk about today. We talked about some in the episode on the whole film. But Mama is a scary fucking short film because I don't know any of this. And the movie is good, but it's not as scary because we understand who Mama is and why she does things.
We got to spend a lot of time with that, character development and dialogue and all those silly things that if you only have like 7 minutes, then you're like, okay, just, put a hip t-shirt on the main character. And they're like, no, we know who that person is.
Well, let's talk about Lights Out, created by David F. Sandberg.
I love it.
And the lead actor, Lotta Loston. And this short is under 3 minutes. In fact, when I first put out the call for shorts on Patreon, I was like, something like, don't send me a TikTok you found spooky. Like, YouTube is great, but it was like something longer than 5 minutes. And people were like, wait, no.
Yeah.
Lights Out is 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
it's so brief. Even so compared to the other shorts we have on this list.
Yeah.
And yet it packs a punch.
It really does. And I think Lights Out is essentially just a woman going to bed
Yep.
In her apartment. And there is something in the house with her that appears with the lights off. And
Coat rack, demon. Coat rack, demon. Coat rack, demon. Coat rack, demon. Coat rack, demon.
That is so scary. So she's looking down the hallway, lights on in the hallway. You can see a coat rack at the end of these white walls in the living room by the front door.
That looks sort of like a figure.
Vaguely, but then when she clicks the lights off, this is a really cool camera trick too.
Yeah.
Because just next to her, like, it's not quite the coat rack, but like you definitely see kind of a lurking form.
Lots of shoulders.
Lots of shoulders. Real scary looking.
And you know, I think makes this, like, the opening to this film so scary is that it's less, the main character is not terrified. She's more confused.
Yes.
And in that confusion, just like, huh? What? Like she's flipping the lights on and off. And I think that's such a natural and not dramatic reaction.
Yeah.
And therefore so much more human that you're just like, dopa-dopa-do. Oh, that's weird. Oh, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. And then the second half of the short film is the oh, fuck moments.
Yeah. Well, and I love the trick of on, off, on, like 4 or 5 times where it's the same thing over and over and over. It keeps turning into that shadow. And then the last time she shuts the lights off, it's gone. And that's when she starts. That's when she's like,
well, it's like it gets closer to her. Yeah, I know.
Well, it disappears the last
and
time. It's not even there. It's the Stephen King thing about seeing a spider isn't scary. Looking back and seeing that the spider is gone is scary.
It could be anywhere.
Yep.
And I love that, and we get a little bit of humor in this, and like her immediate reaction, smash cut to her taping the lights on.
Yes.
She's like, fuck this. These lights are staying on.
Uh-huh.
Or so she thinks.
Yeah. And she closes her door, climbs into bed, and then she starts hearing footsteps and clomping around, and then
the lights turn themselves off.
No, they don't.
Jeffrey's like, no, ma'am. Do not want.
God, this is so scary.
Have you ever freaked yourself out in your house because like a light went on that wasn't supposed to be on? Or because I know like whenever we have like a brownout or a blackout and then the lights do come back on, there's certain electronics that I have that automatically default to on. So like sometimes I'll come home and there's like a random lamp on that I'm like, I know I did not leave that lamp on when I left the house to run errands.
Yeah.
WTF.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, the microwave the time needs to be reset. Okay, I know what's happening here. But there's something about that confusion, that ambiguity that is so fucking scary. Like I put my coffee cup down and then I look over here and then your coffee cup is not in the place you put it. That is like the root of much horror.
Yeah.
That is taps into some deep shit.
Yeah. I think for me, it's thinking I see a shadow of something.
Yeah.
And then you realize like, oh no, that's just the way the moon is hitting the tree branch. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, because I think we're hardwired as animals to be like, is that creature or nature? Creature, nature. Oh no, that's a turtle. Okay, it is a creature. Okay, and here we go.
Yep. One of the motifs that happens a couple times across these short films we're covering today is the slow crawl of a hand out of the. So her lamp by her bedside starts flickering. And so she looks down. She's got the covers pulled up over her head, which I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. I hate that. I don't like not being able to see. And she the plug is loose in the power strip on the ground, and you see her hand come out. Like, just try and like tighten that down just a little bit.
And she's like, whew, got it.
And then she finally pulls back the covers as the light flickers again. And there's the scariest face. Boom, end.
Fuck me up. It's that is also a common. This is definitely the age of internet horror, watching these horror shorts. And nothing is scarier on the internet than man is too long, face is too big, smile too wide.
Yep.
And we get a couple of those in this collection here, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Yeah, this was spooky as shit. And David F. Sandberg has actually had a pretty busy career afterwards. I think he directed Annabelle Creation, I believe.
Ooh, fun.
And Shazam.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, great start. I have not seen Lights Out, the full length picture, but I think I've read from people that it's a little similar to what Mama struggled with, which was the impact of a 90 or 120-minute film is way less scary.
Yeah.
It's way less like a knife plunge of scare.
Yeah. Well, because we have to come up with a reason. What is this demon? Why is it here? Yeah. Why does it like the lights out? Is it scared? Don't hug me. I'm scared.
Yeah.
And you have to explain all of that. And I have seen the long format film of this, and it's not bad, but it's definitely it struggles with that shock.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Moonstruck.
Ooh, this one was fun.
This one's really fun. This one's super. This is very much hitting your classic horror characters and beats and things like that, which feels more comfy in a short form than in like long form. But this is creator Alan Seawright. Love this opening. This opening. Liz is sleeping in bed. We see the clock. It's like 2:13 a.m.
Yep. The spookiest time.
The spookiest time of morning, or 2:90, I forget what, 2 something a.m. And just a flurry of texts on her phone. Bing, bing, bing. Instagram notifications.
Is wrong. And they're so quick, you don't really get a chance to read. Until you do. And then you're like, people saying, this is not a joke. No, really, don't look.
Well, some people are like, it's amazing. You look at it, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, there's a bunch that are like gorgeous.
Worse. They're like
the texts are like, look at
texting.
It. Yeah,
look at it.
But then there's the
emergency alert.
Horrifying emergency alert you get on your goddamn iPhone.
Yeah.
Where was it? Were we on tour, or was I just home in Texas visiting? But I didn't realize I had Amber Alerts on my phone still turned on. And we were
driving through somewhere, and it was like all day. It was like, oh, okay.
I think it was in Texas, because I seem to remember that we were near Dallas, or in Dallas, and got this like emergency alert that there was a missing child in Houston. And I'm like, that is a 4.5 hour drive away. I'm like, you did not need to startle me with this good iPhone.
We're so trained, especially those of us that grew up pre-internet, pre-cell phone, in which that sound, if it came over the TV or radio,
scary.
Like that means like the government really wants you to pay attention to something, which probably is not good.
No.
It means like you might have to evacuate.
Yeah.
Because there's flooding or weather or things
tornadoes.
Like
that. Yeah. I think I think it's a scary fucking sound, and it's even scarier used in the device where she gets up and the television is on in the living room.
Yes.
And
her husband is gone.
And you hear that same sound from the living room. That's scary.
And we know that there's a husband that, Rob or whatever.
Rod.
Rod is not there.
Nope.
Rod could be like a fucking spider that's gone missing.
Oh. And their daughter, Miranda. She goes into Miranda's room, and she's seen the presidential alert, do not look at the moon, which is an awesome setup.
Just so like all caps.
So good. Stay inside, avoid interacting with strangers is what the TV is saying. And so she gets her daughter. She's like, you didn't look at the moon, right?
No, mommy.
No, mommy. She covers the windows.
Yeah.
And she okay, so first like annoying horror trope is, honey, you wait here. I'm going to go find daddy. I'm like, stop splitting up. Stop, especially with your 5-year-old daughter.
No, don't do it.
But in the background, we see Daddy Rod. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle.
Oh my God. The fucking worst. Come on. Where it's like, I'll be right here. And something moves in the background that the main character does not see. And the daughter sees it. And she's like, I'm getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And mom's like, stay right here. And she's like, yeah, whatever you say. I'm going to lock myself into the toilet. Shut up, mommy. You go deal with crazy daddy.
So she goes to talk to crazy daddy. And He's
I love this.
looking out the window at the moon.
And he's just sort of like half gesturing, like, come over here. Come over here. Like, oh, this is the worst. And they teased this out for a minute.
Another classic horror trope is, or just conversational device. This better not be one of your sick jokes, Rod.
Never. Oh my God. This taps into the Brad, stop messing around, Brad.
Yep.
Brad is dead or Brad is a demon. Okay.
No.
Let's just moratorium on stop playing joke. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I would have like knife in one hand, duct tape in the other, ready to go. Like my daughter would already be locked in the toilet where there are probably less bathrooms to look at the moon through.
Yeah.
I'm like, you barricade that door, and unless you hear the safe word, which is artichoke, you do not open this goddamn door for a single person, not even mommy, unless I say artichoke.
He finally, it's a great effect as he keeps stepping towards her. They've done a thing where you can't ever see his face because he's so backlit by the moonlight. Yeah. And he's like, you come take a look at this. You'll be glad you did. And as he gets right up close to the camera, his eyes start glowing like moons.
White.
You know,
it's so funny. Is it? You know, I think this is just like, this was probably inspired by a bunch of people that went on like a camping trip or like went on a late night picnic or something. And they're like, look at the moon. It's so beautiful. And there's that one person who's like, fuck that moon.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't look at the moon.
You got really high and you're like, what if the moon turned us into
yes, what if the moon?
What if the moon's looking at us, guys?
Yes, it is. Bird watching goes both ways.
That's right.
I read that somewhere. I don't remember where.
I did too.
So I had a thought. The first one is this: the beginning of this movie kind of cracks me up a bit because the moonlight is so present, and I love the filmmakers. Like they really made the moonlight that streams in from windows is like so bright.
Yeah.
And until you know what the fuck is going on in the first like few minutes of the film, I was like, how did she sleep with those curtains open with that? I was like, she is in a spotlight. Oh, okay. That's the whole point of the short story.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But Rod starts like trying to grab her, right?
Yeah.
So this is full on, like now we're getting into, okay, you're truly, you're not going to like passively draw me in. You're going to physically draw me in and make
it's very Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Meets, God, what was it? Skyfall? I think that was, yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's like a sci-fi. It's not
Moonfall. Right? Moonfall, the Roland Emmerich movie from a few years ago.
No, there's like, oh man, Skyline. That's it.
Oh, it's Skyline.
It's like was it Donald Faison from Scrubs? But it's like LA and it's a bunch of friends get together and essentially there's an alien attack. But it does a similar thing where it like draws people in and they like lose their humanity. And so the people have to battle their own friends and kind of like detox them from the alien. Okay. But it affects them in that sort of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like, I am still functioning. I am your wife, Dave. Hello. I love you. Just look at the moon. Like that creepiness.
Yeah.
We even get like a very Invasion of the Body Snatcher ending. That very like, oh
yeah. There's a great line where Rod is before he lunges at Liz. He's like, "Come on, Liz, why don't you trust me?" And then he just like races after her. I'm like, probably because of that, Rod.
Yes. Yeah, really slow, laconic movement to, fast zombie scrambling up the stairs. Always scary.
Yeah. And then she she goes to look for her daughter, but she's not in the stairwell, and she finds her in her bedroom.
Yeah.
She shuts the door, closes the window.
Daddy's
again,
like,
another
just
spook.
Come in. Just
I'm
let
like,
me in.
Did you look at the moon? And there's
I know
a long
this
moment
kid keeps her eyes closed for so long.
Why?
You're like, so stressful.
She puts a blindfold on Miranda. And this is where she goes to the window to Close the curtain.
Shut the window, lock the window, but that lock is really loud.
It is. And so, again, another great horror trope, which is people not looking at you from a distance suddenly look at you.
Yeah, that's the worst.
So she sees just a crowd of people on her lawn staring up at the moon with their glowing eyes. And then she goes to lock the window, and it like is hooked to a PA system or something because that
clack, 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 clack,
wham, and then all of the people turn and look right at her. Whoa.
That riles up her husband again.
He starts banging on the door. You'll regret your whole life if you don't join me. Like, Rod, you have to chill out. Just get in a fantasy football league or something. Like, do your own thing.
This is like when they're like, oh my gosh, you have to try these French fries. Try the fries. Jeffrey, try the French fries. And you're like, I don't really want French fries. No, you have to try the French fries. I'm not really hungry. I'm off of fried foods right now. Just try the fries.
And then finally the banging stops on the door. There's a long, tense moment, and then suddenly it just busts open, and here comes Rod. The end. Title card. Moonstruck. And then I think the most shocking part about this film is the last 3 minutes of this 9-minute video are credits.
Yeah.
There were so many credits for this short film. And it has to be the animation, right? It's
what's the animation? It's the Kickstarters. Like it's like
that's what it was.
There's a couple of these that were backed by Kickstarter campaigns, and it's awful fun looking at people's weirdo names that they put on Kickstarters.
Okay.
Like in one, it was like your worldwide #1 coolest fan, Lisa. And I was like, oh, hey Lisa, what's up? #1 worldwide coolest fan.
I should have actually read the credits. I was just jotting down my notes, and I was looking at them. I'm like, these credits are still good. There are so many people. Okay, that makes.
But there's a lot
sense.
of special effects. There's so many special effects, and that's got to be so much money for like a short film to do.
And the Kickstarter makes perfect sense too, because you would want to kickstart a film that's going to cost this much to make, because there's a lot going on.
But this film is 12 minutes and 30 seconds long, and it's amazing how they go how they really kind of capture that end of the world scenario.
Yeah.
That invasion of the body snatchers, not only is it the end of the world, but everybody is now part of the end of the world, and they are not what they seem. Like that's like action hero, like action movie kind of shit. And it's so like amazing that they can condense that down into like a 10-minute short.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me think too about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And also when we did the Little Monsters episode last month, we talked about like zombies are such a uniquely like the horror movie zombie is such a uniquely American concept. And
it is.
I do think some of it roots from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Like it roots from the idea that whatever, if it's communist metaphor or whatever it is, but the idea that there's a group of people that an idea has spread throughout them, and that culture is going to shift from underneath us.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie gets right at. That because the thing about these people, while Rod is violent, you don't actually ever sense that he's not zombie. He's not going to eat her brains.
Nah.
You don't get a sense that he's necessarily going to kill
her. He wants to convert.
He wants to put her in front of the window and be like, look at it, Liz.
This reminds me, there's a short comic book series called Memetic. I think James Tynion the Sixth created it. That's similar. It's about a meme, like an internet meme of a sloth in front of a spiral that does something to people's brains.
Awesome.
And I love it. It's one of my favorite like short form comic books. It's just 3 episodes, and it goes from it much like this. It like escalates exponentially from 1 to 2 to 3. Yeah. But it's very similar in that, like, what happens when your boyfriend calls you up? It's like, hey, you've got to see this meme I found. And you're like, do I? Because you sound a little weird today. Maybe I'll just, I don't know, read a book.
Well, let's talk about the 10 steps.
Ooh,
good
and
Irish
so different.
friends.
Jeffrey, I love shorts. When I lived in New York City, one of my favorite things was around wintertime, or especially around Oscar season. There was the AFI would do all the Oscar nominated short films and all the Oscar nominated short animated films, and I would make a day of it where I'd watch like 3 hours of short films, live action, go smoke a bowl, have a taco, and then go watch all the animated films. And I love the variety packness of it. So to go from something that's very action, Moonstruck, to something like the 10 Steps, which is so quiet, creepy, like it's such a different flavor of scary.
Yeah.
It hits all my horror taste buds, Jeffrey.
I love it. Yeah. 10 Steps is our earliest film in this group. I think 2003 or 4.
Okay.
Irish creator Brendan Muldowney.
Oh, I love those Irish accents.
And this is
they're so comforting yet terrifying.
Yeah. And this one is way more. This is campfire story.
A bit, yeah.
It's a little bit more like campfire
ghost story. Like it feels like an oral tale that is being acted out in front of you.
Yes, totally. And we've got, I love this opening shot of this old house in front of this blue sky that is very theatrical looking. Yeah, it looks green screened, but deliberately so.
Yeah.
In a way that tells you this is a tale. Yeah. I am performing. I'm a solo. It's a solo storyteller type of thing. And so it kind of sets up the theatricality of the storytelling.
Yeah, like there's no, like it's just the house. There's no trees. It's like it exists in a little snow globe of terrifying.
Yeah. And we have Katie as our main character here. She's the teenage girl who is
in a new house.
In a new house.
There's move-in box, a kitchen, all the traditional trappings. And because listen, there's nothing scarier than moving into there's many things scarier, but there's moving into a new place and getting adjusted is very traumatic. Like they say that like on the list of like the worst things the traumas that people can go through, moving is in the top 10.
Yeah. Oh, and listen, years of going to see a therapist, I have unpacked so much about moving around as a child. Like it really does come back a lot for some people, all the way to being moved as a kid, being moved around.
From like 16 down to like 10. Like that's the age in which you're like, you've just started getting a handle on how your body works. And now all of a sudden you're like, wait, I got to make new friends and I got to like go to a different bus route. Oh my God.
Why do I live in Idaho now? What the fuck just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Katie is babysitting her younger brother, like 10-year-old brother, Steven.
Who likes putting on scary masks and sneaking up on his sister.
This is a good misdirect jump scare at the beginning as we see a figure come in the door behind her. He's kind of almost like Jason, like he's kind of got like a workman's like outdoorsy jacket on and coming up, and then suddenly there is a skull mask with a cloak over its head. Yeah, just
Is your brother in a cult?
He is.
Do you need to be deprogrammed?
Mom and dad are at dinner with dad's boss.
This is so funny to me.
This is such a fun like glimpse back into like turn of the century, right? Like 2000 to 2003.
Motorola cell phones.
The tiny little Motorola phone.
I love it.
And two, the idea that like if somebody is calling you, it's still we're still left over from the 90s and previous, wherein if somebody's calling you, you should answer it. It's rude not to answer.
A phone call is a big deal.
Yes.
Like they say that the modern dilemma is like somebody's knocking at your door and the phone is ringing. Like that is the ultimate in pre-internet anxiety, fear causing. And like that was real. You're like,
It was nothing worse than like racing to the phone and missing who called.
Oh God, right. Like you got the keys, you get your groceries, and you can hear the phone ringing inside, and you're like, oh my God, this might. And it was, and like the idea of spam calls were not fucking ubiquitous like they are now. Like you might get cold called every once in a while, but it was rare, and it was usually just at dinner time.
There's also something about the etiquette here too, where you would, and I know there are still people in this day and age that talk on their phone at the table or in line at a grocery store or whatever. But in general,
horrible people.
Yes, but I think back then the idea that the phone rang, we're like, well, we're all gonna. I don't think we had developed, if I remember correctly, I don't think we had developed the etiquette of like, I'm gonna step outside and take this.
I thought that a lot. I was like, wow, she is just taking that call right at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Okay, well, makes sense.
Yep. I may misremember this, or I may just have had friends that were too busy to stand up and walk away. But I do remember like late 90s, early aughts, when people started having cell phones and they became more affordable, that it's like, well, I'm just going to take this at the table, and you would just sit and wait out there.
Yeah. And you're like, well, I'm going to listen to your one-sided conversation here for 3 minutes.
She calls mom. Steven won't do what he's told. He won't go to bed. Put him on the phone. Steven, follow Katie's orders. Get your ass in
Pure
bed.
Irish mom.
Yes.
Like, she is like, you listen to me. I will turn this cell phone right around. Your father is working on this, like in full voice in front of the boss. We are trying to impress this man that's sitting in front of me, listening to every word I say. You are fucking up your father's life.
Back at the house, we start getting electrical flashing off, and a wind is rustling through the house. It blows Katie's hair while she's watching TV, and then suddenly, boom, TV's gone, lights are gone.
But it's not boom, it's they go one by one.
You're right.
That's the scare. Like, lights out is a lights out. And we get this in the short Lights Out. But like when everything goes, you're like, oh, okay, the power went out. But this is like lamp off, hallway off. And then it's like the one lamp in the room off.
Yeah.
And they leave us in the dark, and they do some really good Foley work of like scrounging around, looking for a box of matches, kind of a reset in blackness.
Yeah.
To really like make you pay the fuck attention.
Yeah. Well, she lights a candle and calls mom again. Say like the power went out. And mom is like, all right, honey, I think we probably should go.
My dad.
We should probably go. And he's like, here, let me talk to her. Dad says, Katie, you'll need to check the fuse box. It's in the cellar. Can you be brave, love?
No, I can't.
And mom tells
this fucking side conversation, Jeffrey,
with the moms, the two women.
Like, oh yeah, we just moved in. Oh, you moved into the old mill house. Oh, I hear there were satanic rituals that happened there. Oh yeah, it's really dangerous. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Well, and the way that the other woman makes her feel better, she's like, I mean, they've been saying it's haunted since back in my day. So who knows? It's probably
even worse.
Fine.
You're making it worse.
People just talk. They just
the
stories.
Marston house it's going for a song up there on Salem's Lot.
She also, Katie's mom says in this conversation that Katie, when they first moved in, had a panic attack in the cellar when they first moved in. Which is terrifying, right? Panic attack is a horrifying shit that you don't want to mess with. So at this point, I'm like, if I'm mom, I'm like, honey, give me that fucking phone. We're coming home. Our child like
we're 12 minutes away.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the fact that I love the script in this. Like, it's very smart in that you get immediately that the panic attack is because of it. It's like site specific. Yeah. It's not like Katie gets panic attacks. She got one in the new house. But it's like, no. There's like
in the cellar.
There's like a spot in the basement that causes it. And you understand that. And
I 100% empathize with Katie here. Once we see this cellar, I'm like, oh, fuck no. You know what? We are going by candlelight. We are reading a book. Where is the book box? I will open that up.
We are going into our little brother's room, and we are barricading ourselves in until mom and dad get home.
What do we have in here? Nicholas Sparks. Fine. I don't give a
Monopoly.
Shit.
Here we go. Missing half the pieces. Don't care.
And dad says, okay, the thing you have to remember, Katie, when you go down the stairs, because you can't see very well, there are exactly 10 steps. Just concentrate on counting. And I love this because, one, as a person who often will count steps when I go up staircases, I totally appreciate this. I love the idea that you would know if the lights were out, that I have 14 steps in my house, that I could count 14. When you move a couch and you know that there are 14 steps up, 1, 2, 3, careful counting is great. But there's something about the way he's delivering this that's so cautious that you have to just concentrate on counting. Don't think about other things. Lets you know that dad knows something is fucked up in that cellar, I think.
Yeah. Or I like it because it is like when things are scary, when life is overwhelming of any sort, common garden variety, or, there's a demon in your basement. Like that like, don't think about the whole process, just think about one step.
Yeah.
Step 2. And like that, breaking it down is great if you're in the moment, but it is torturous if you're watching somebody go through it, because you're like, it could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Bolt, get out.
Yeah. At like
One.
step 3, there's like a noise. It sounds like the door closes behind her.
He's like, no, don't look, don't
Don't
just
look.
count the steps. Just count the little baby steps.
At step 4, the candle starts flickering. Like, I hope you brought that lighter with you, girl.
Step 5, you're halfway there.
Yeah. And he's like, step 9. It's so drawn out, so perfectly drawn out for the tension. And then finally 10, and you see Dad's face smile. And now we just see his face with the phone to his ear in this restaurant. And then we hear Katie go 11, 12, 13.
And his daughter sounds different. Like all the panic is removed, all the fear is removed. We don't see her again.
No, it's just Dad like staring at the phone like, oh shit. 15 credits. And throughout the credits, like she counts up to like 50 in the credits.
I know. This is one of my favorite things that like filmmakers do, is when it's akin to fucking with the fourth wall, like when Ferris Bueller talks to the camera. Is when the credits are part of the whole film experience. And that could be with an amazing song like we got in something like Bedfellows, but I love it when the story lingers like smoke in a room. Like the people are gone, but you know that something has just happened, and the credit, and also it keeps you engaged to watch the credits.
Yeah.
It keeps you in the mood. It's like when you're telling a spooky story and it lingers a little bit. I love that class act.
Going all the way back to childhood, Cannonball Run putting bloopers in the credits was doing the outtakes in the credits was so much fun. And then I think Pixar carried that forward. They did that a few times in their movies as well, like Ants or Bug's Life or whatever. I can't remember which ones, but yeah, I think that's really. I agree. I think that's such a cool trick.
So what do you think happened, Jeffrey? What do you think happened?
Oh, she went straight to hell. Like she just
step by step.
Yeah, it possessed her and just kept her walking down. She is taking all the steps to hell.
I think out of all of these films, this one was one of the as I was going to sleep that night, it was like this one left, this one and like 2 other ones kind of, I was like, okay, what happens after the credits? Like, what are nice Irish mom and dad going to walk home to? What do you think that basement looks like? Like, is the body there? Is the body gone? Is their daughter just gone entire? Are they going to find just a cell phone and a candle? Like, that was what kept my brain buzzing about this.
I was thinking about what is Boss and his wife talking about on their ride home? Like, what happened to their daughter?
What do you think happened as they rushed out?
Why did she keep counting? And
yeah,
they're chatting about that all over town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They like come to work the next day and everyone's dead. They're just counting. They're just like OCD. Everyone's just OCD. That's it.
Let's talk about our next film, Abracitos.
Oh, Abracitos.
I love this. I love this so much. I love the way this is shot. I love the build-up.
God, the casting. This film, this girl.
The little girl
is so fucking terrifying at this, Jeffrey.
She's so good. It's almost David Lynchian, right? There's something to her choices, her acting that is so strange. And
she's like Lil. She's like
yeah.
Are you smiling? Are you crying?
Yeah.
Are you quite like the garish lipstick? It's clearly a little girl. Okay, so the setup is we see a child's drawing. Okay, creepy children.
It's a castle.
Castle, and there's like a very sad looking sister and a what looks like a brother with long arms and a big smile. So we're like, okay, fucking creepy kids. Here we go. Let's do this.
Was there a brother?
Or I mean, there was somebody like on the bed. There was a figure on the bed, male figure with like a big wide ass smile and arm too long.
I don't think that's the brother. I think that's the Abracitos.
I think that's Abracitos.
But
do you know if Abracitos has a translation, or is
it means
this like
hug?
Okay. Ooh, that's even creepier.
This I want to mention the creators Tony Morales and Fer Saragossa are the creators of this film, the writers. And Tony Morales directed it. So this girl, the little girl, Ainara. Ainara is the little girl, and she's built a little castle out of sheets. She's got like a little paper crown she's made for herself. So she's she's got like lipstick all around, like crazily put on her face, like
she's got lots
like
of
a little girl.
Big rings, like adult rings. She's
a princess. She's a princess in her castle. But as we will realize, the castle is not just pretend land; it is safe harbor from the enemy without. And
now, Jeffrey, to me, the first minute of this film is so amazing in the succession of understanding who these characters are, and it's so emotionally impactful.
Yeah,
in just like 3 lines of dialogue, you're like, oh,
yeah. And the girl is talking on the phone, and we only hear the one-sided conversation. She's basically like, I'm not doing anything, I'm fine. I'm fine by myself. I'll just put a film on, I'll just watch a movie. But then we see the castle drawn on the chalkboard, and then we see the older sister. Big sis comes into the room, and Big sis is crying. Like her face is clearly
on the floor crying. And for a second I was like, have I missed something? Wait, huh? But like this rapid succession, I was like, wait, what? Like, who are you? She's eek.
And I think what makes this film so scary is the direction. It is the pacing of the dialogue. It's the way that the actors are afraid of everything. This is where it feels very Twin Peaks Firewalk with me. To me, it's just that like the long staring and horror at a thing that we, the audience, don't fully understand.
We either don't see it or we don't understand it. But like and it's big close-ups, like movie close-ups of these two people's faces.
She crawls into the fort with little sis, and little sis has a phone, like an old school phone receiver, to her ear. And she's like, Ainara, what's wrong? She says, Abracitos is in my room.
No, absolutely not. Burn it down, Jeffrey. Burn it all down.
Big sis is like, he is not in your room.
That was just a story I made up.
I made it all up. That's not real. And she's like, I'm talking to Mom.
Now, I thought for just a minute that was Mom, not sister. And so I was like, bitch, there's nothing scarier than be like, Mom is here. She's talking on the phone and you're talking to. I was like, that's what I thought it was. She's like, no, Mom is dead.
Mom is dead. Dad is coming to pick us up. Mom has died. We get the impression Dad is at the hospital. Seeing Mom.
And like
Mom
passed
just
away.
Died.
Yeah.
So he's going to come get them and come take them to the hospital to see Mom. But
and telephone to the beyond.
Big sister knows this, and little sis says, "You want to
say
talk
hi
to her? Talk to Mom," and holds the phone up to her. And Big sis is like, actually like, voice cracking, choking, is like,
yes,
hello,
hello,
and we don't hear anything. She's just like basically like, nothing's get that. Abracitos is not real. Get that away from me.
And like, this is like a really cool, like, so this movie is the pacing is, like you said, it's very Lynchian in that like we linger long times on things that in other films would normally take a second. But in this moment that flips, and it's like sister tries to leave the fort, and there is some fucking black and white, like Victorian ghost lady
flying
just like
right the fuck
runs the fuck at the camera. Hard no.
And
Abracitos is present.
She ducks back into the sheet fortress, which I guess they're safe there. Again, this is where I'm like, you know what, little sis? Why don't we just curl up for the night until daylight, till Daddy gets here?
Listen,
let Daddy deal with whatever the fuck that was.
Oh no. They go through it the second act of this film. They're like, Abracitos is here.
Big Sis reaches her hand out. So again, the hand reaching for something beyond the sheets. And I love this movement because her hand looks creepy the way Big Sister's hand just moves across the floor to find box of junk. Again,
box of toys.
Kind of a moving sort of thing. Like, it's like a cardboard box full of toys. She drags it into the fort, and inside is a rope, and she ties it around the two of their waists.
Eep.
We're going full poltergeist here. We're crawling in, baby.
Like, this house is not clean.
No. The little girl is holding a doll close to her chest, and the camera closes in on this doll's face, and those doll's eyes are scary as shit.
Listen, there's creepy ass puppets all over this room, like everywhere this is the creepiest child's room, for real.
It's so scary. Yeah. And anyways, Big Sis crawls out.
And she says, just shut your eyes.
Shut your eyes, just close your eyes.
And I was like, what is your game plan here? Are you going to drag your sister across the floor?
Yeah, like I think the goal was we're going to crawl out of the fort. We're going to walk together. I will lead us eyes open because I'm the big sister. Knowing there's nobody here. You just keep your eyes closed
and follow me.
I'll lead us out of the house. We'll meet Dad out on the front sidewalk, and he'll put us in his car, and we'll go to the nice, safe, well-lit hospital.
Yeah, but there's somebody in the bed.
Okay, so this was a little confusing to me, and I think what's happening here is the mislead, because this is clearly that figure that was on the bed at the very beginning that Big Sis didn't notice. I think so. But what it looks like in the moment is Ayanara. It looks like little sis. This is so, but it's hard to tell because the lighting is so different.
Yeah.
And the film is so short that I haven't really gotten to know. What's identical about Ayanara is her paper crown, her lipstick, and the big teeth of the cringy smiles frown that she has. But in this darkly lit moment, her hair doesn't look as blonde. She doesn't have the crown, but it's supposed to look like her, although we know by the end that it is not her.
I thought it was the mother.
I did too, for a brief second.
It looked like an adult woman lying in the bed.
But when she stands up, it's the little girl.
Bitch,
very clearly.
No, absolutely not. And it's like person in bed, and it cuts back to like the sister, and she's like trying to untie the rope, which you're like, okay, this is not going to be good.
No,
your plan has already gone awry.
Yes.
And like in that second, now all of a sudden there's little sister standing there, makeup gone, and she's just straight up pointing again with the fucking Invasion of the Body Snatchers point.
She's pointing beyond Big Sis, behind Big Sis, and says, "There's a lady behind you." And she won't stop smiling. I'm like, nope.
No,
there's not.
Absolutely not.
You two both fuck off.
And it's just like the way, like, how did this girl get from inside the tent to the bed?
Well, she didn't.
She did not, is the answer. But after a long, tense moment of like Big Sister creeping up, and she sort of takes the girl's hand and sort of wraps her in a koala bear hug.
And she says, just don't open your eyes. And then she starts to walk out of the room with the little girl, like koala bear hugging her chest. And as we go, final jump scare is, that's not a little girl. That is fucking Abracitos.
Abracitos is
Abracitoing the fuck out of you.
Attached to your body.
Yep.
Woof. That was truly a roller coaster.
I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved the vibe of this film. Like, Moonstruck has a fun zombie adventure vibe to it. It's
definitely action.
Yes. And this one is scary. It's spooky. Very spooky, very creepy.
Yeah. It definitely taps into folk horror, like what it like did Big Sister make up Abracitos? Is Abracitos a real thing? Like what happens? What is that transitional period after a parent dies? What is still left in the house?
Yeah.
And what parasites like to attach themselves to you when you're feeling your grief? Like very Babadook in that way.
Yeah. Let's talk about Portrait of God, directed by Dylan Clark, with Sidney Brumfeld as the solo actor as Mia.
This film fucked me up. This was like one of the few that I was like, afterwards, I was like, out of all of them, this one in tone, in pacing, just felt so different.
Yeah.
Maybe it is because it's not our only solo feature in which there's only one character. It's not, but it's I don't know. This one really struck out for me.
Yeah.
Especially in, again, like the establishment of like, where are we? What's going on here?
I thought a lot during these movies, and especially during Portrait of God, about our work in the neo-futurists, right? Because there is a performativeness to this piece,
right?
Because it opens with her practicing a speech, basically a presentation she's going to do for her art history class or whatever.
And it's like, here we are in like, in a very conventional college space. Neutral
She's got the room to herself. She's got a projector screen, and she's got her laptop and note cards and her phone that she's using the stopwatch on her phone to time the speech, because
how long the speech to go with the slides.
It's so clear without explaining a fucking thing. I love that we know exactly what she's doing. And she starts talking about this painting that is, and she's like, I'm going to show you a painting. It's called The Portrait of God. It is a painting that, when I show it to you, I'll leave it up for a second so we can all have a moment to stare at it. Most people will see nothing, but some people over the years have seen things. And she has audio of people describing the portrait, and she puts it up, and it's just a black screen. And they're like, people can see a figure. They're like, he's very tall. He's got a big smile. It's almost like he's wearing a mask. His
very
arms,
skinny.
Very skinny. Man who is too long.
Man is too long. Man who's too hungry.
Some people say it's beautiful. Some people say, I don't like looking at it.
Yeah. There's like a little girl who's like, I don't like it. And then some adult man is like, it's beautiful. Which again, back to like Moonstruck, you're like, anything, if you sound like that, then it's either heroin or something else that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Like as bad as that. If that is the way your voice sounds when you're like, no,
calm down. Take a step. So she then, concludes her speech with she was like, it's amazing the question is why their descriptions are so consistent as to what they see, even though nothing is there. Why does God appear to them and not to us? And you get the sense.
I love that, it puts, I think it's the second line of her speech is like, I don't see anything either, which you're like, oh, okay, thank God. What a great, I don't know, it puts us on her side.
Yeah.
She
checks the timer. Her speech was 3 minutes something, so probably she's trying to do a 3-minute speech.
Yeah, trying to get it under.
Yep. So she resets.
Do it again. Here we go.
Again, it's the beauty of film when people find a clear explanation for something that is not easy to explain using only visuals and no dialogue. Love it. She didn't have. There's no character being like, okay, let me redo my speech. We don't.
Yeah. No, we just get it. She's working on this thing until it's right.
She starts the whole thing over, and as she's giving the long, because she wants to give everyone the long speech second with no talking for people to stare at the image, and as she
take a look at this blank painting.
So it's in the silence. She touches the little cross pendant on her neck, and then she seems to see something.
Well, did you know? Okay, so this is what I was going through. So she's wearing a white shirt, and she's in a neutral background. White shirt, neutral background, cut to black screen. The image of white remains on your eyes as it cuts to the screen. So what you're seeing for the first couple of times is actually nothing CGI'd. It's just, it's natural. But you see the outline of a figure that is her figure burned on your retinas that lasts a minute. It's like when you stare at the sun and then look away at something else and close your eyes, that light is still visible to your eye when you look at something dark.
Yeah.
So even though the shenanigans and fuckery hasn't begun yet, you do actually see the outline, the shadow image of her figure.
Yeah. And you see two tiny dots, pinpricks of light.
Dots, then I was like, Jeffrey, I am out. I am out the fucking door.
Dots of light. And you can't help but, as the viewer, viewing another viewer to concentrate closely, and you start seeing a faint outline of a skullish shape.
And like just like the shoulder, and you begin to see ribs.
Yeah. And I like this too because she raises the screen back up, which isn't going to she's like hard no. I'm out, go away, even though deep down that's not actually good because it's the projector projecting it.
Yeah,
but it takes, thinking theatrically, it takes the frame away.
Yeah.
So by taking the frame away, you think you will take everything away, but it's not the frame that's there. It
just projects on the back wall.
Has nothing to do with the frame of the picture. It has to do with what the picture is. And it fucking moves, and she's like,
it looks at her. Nope. Walks out that door, but there's another door inside the door.
Well, yeah, she goes out the door into a brightly lit, like fluorescent lit room, like very academic institution type of room. And then suddenly finds herself in a pitch black room with a single spotlight on her.
She's in the fucking Upside Down is what she's in.
Yeah. She's at, we will see this later at the end of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It's a Black Lodge type of situation.
Yeah.
And only
man
a soul
who is too long comes walking up to her.
Those two tiny dots in the distance. She's backing up, and she is grabbing her cross as this thing gets closer and closer. And she's our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done.
The whole. I was like, there are no atheists in foxholes, and I'd be like, it Buddha, Allah, like Jesus, whoever. I'm running through the gamut here.
Yep,
because this motherfucker right in front of me is horrifying.
And it is a man who is too tall, and the bright light shines. And this is the I took this as
very it.
Oh, interesting.
It opens its mouth and there's like something inside.
It
reminded me a lot of it.
Oh, that's a great call. I was just reading this as more basic, which was it's the bright light you see when you die. I walked to the bright light. I saw a bright light. Come to the light.
And it's a different quality of light than the two eyes are very yellow orange, like stars. But this light, the dead lights, as one could say, as Stephen King has said, like that when this fucking watermelon sized mouth opens, is a very moon white, and it's got like a little halo around it, and you can see it in her face, and it's beautiful, Jeffrey. Like you can see her expression has changed from pray, calling down Jesus and all the saints to come and help her to like, oh, how gorgeous.
Yeah.
All the pain take the pain away, Jeffrey. All the pain is gone away. All the fear.
Yeah. And we cut back to her, this shot back of her back in her seat in the auditorium, holding onto her cross, eyes filled with tears.
It's like a blood running down her shirt. Her cell phone says she's been staring at this motherfucker for 3 hours.
Yep. The end.
No.
Nope.
And then the credits, and then there's another like an imprint of the vision after the credits roll.
Let's talk about Good Hands. Buenos Manos.
I love this.
Francisco Bendomir. Yeah.
This is like if Pedro Almodovar made a horror film.
I was getting real like early Robert Rodriguez vibes from this too, like that like the rapid fire comedy and horror combined is the violence, quirky, and like, dark.
I love it, but it's for out of all of these, like this has the most humor, I would say, and also keeps you on the back foot.
Yeah,
like Moonstruck, it's like, okay, there's a woman, she's in bed, she's getting bad. Okay, like it leads you step by step by step. The 10 steps literally leads you step by step. This one is like you are 3 steps behind these filmmakers at all times. And for a moment it frustrated me, but by the end I caught up and I was like, worth it. Worth the reward.
It's so funny. It's very, very funny. Okay, so it's a young couple leaving for the night. They're checking in with their babysitter, Mariella.
And the little baby off.
Yeah,
and the dad looks very nervous.
Yeah, this like is infant. Like we are 3 days past the point where this baby can hold the head up by itself.
Yeah.
Like this is tiny, which is important.
Yeah.
So this is a tiny baby, infant, and you can see Dad's concerned, and she's
or
like,
just reluctant to hand that baby over.
Yeah,
and I love the wife. She's like,
out.
"Oh, come on, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get the fuck out of here."
And Mariella says she's in good hands. Buenas manos, no worries. And immediately turns around. This happens so fast. Immediately turns around, trips on a squeaky toy, falls flat, off camera below, splat, blood flies in the air. She has crushed this baby to a pulp beneath her.
Decapitated the baby on the coffee table.
Yep.
And it is like gloppy. Like just baby. And I love it. Her first reaction is to take a picture. She's like, oh, she's so stunned. She's like, click. Which is such a funny, like quirky, like when I say quirky, like there's no reason for that to happen, but it has to happen because we have to understand this babysitter is like, oh fuck, this is real.
Joke is amazing in its timing because it happens, you do not expect it at all.
No.
I was waiting for a comedy of errors. Like you can tell by the tone early, this is going to be comedy horror.
Yeah.
You can see the smile on her face but man, it's not 30 seconds in before this happens. You're like, oh, no. You are not going to tease this out. You are going to escalate and then tease the rest out.
And what does she do with that baby, Jeffrey?
She grabs the butcher knife, cuts it to pieces, disembowels it, flushes everything, flushes it all down the toilet.
What the fuck? Now, this is where I was a little confused.
Okay.
Because this happens in a series of almost like not a montage, but like a series of short cuts. And it was like, is this her child? Her neighbor's child?
Huh? Okay. So she has a brief moment where the phone is ringing, the landline.
Okay.
So that, I think what this is, here's how I piece this together. Phone is ringing, it's the landline. So my guess is it's Dad calling to check in. So she doesn't want to answer it, but she sees photos of them and their baby. And what it does is it triggers her to think, wait a minute, I am familiar with photos of people with a baby. She looks through her phone, finds pictures of her and her friend or maybe sister or somebody, girlfriend, whoever, like just some friend of hers, somebody she knows who has a toddler.
Okay.
Like
that's what I thought, but I was like, but what is her? I was like, is she giving away her baby?
No, this is not her baby.
Okay, that's what I was like.
This is somebody else's baby. Okay. But seeing this family's family photos, reminds her, I know somebody people with a kid about baby, this age. And it's not about this age because this other kid is like 18 months. Like this kid is almost to walk. This kid is still in a crib, but big enough to.
Yeah.
This is a chunkier kid, right? We're talking about like an 18-month-old or something. And or almost 2 years, almost, whatever. Anyways,
the mom is shaving her bikini area.
I love this. There's just a young girl sitting next to her baby on the bed, shaving her bikini area,
listening to
her husband or boyfriend from the kitchen. He's like, come get your shit out of the kitchen, you cunt. I'm like, oh my God, this relationship.
Yeah.
Comes back from the kitchen.
And you don't see any of this. You don't see anything. All you hear is, again, like horror and sound effects. It's like you hear window open, rustle, 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 squeaky, squeak, window shut.
This girl comes back from the kitchen and she has got hot wax that she is spreading on her lip.
She's getting ready for date night.
Yeah. And she looks down and that baby is gone. Her toddler, her 18-month-old or whatever you call this group. That kid is gone. We hear Ave Maria playing, which I think is hilarious. God. And we see Mariella back in her house, and she is placing this kid in this family's crib, replacing their 4-month-old with an 18-month-old.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Parents
knock at the door. Yeah.
Mom and dad are home. Dad's like, can I give you a ride back? No, I'll just take the bus. See you later. Bye.
No, I gotta go.
And mom got this shot of mom goes to the crib, looks down at the baby, and you're like, uh-oh. all hell's about to break loose. And mom just says, what?
They grow up so fast.
Yep.
Classic.
But dad, no. Dad is way more cautious. And he sits down at the TV and he presses play. And we hear the conversation from the very beginning with the babysitter. And we're like, wait, what's happening?
And there's a cord into the back of the TV, into a Furby with a nanny cam.
Angry Bird. Angry Bird. Yep. With the nanny cam. Oh shit. And then we hear the squeaky toy she tripped on, the big thump, and we see his face go blank.
Finn.
And then this pop song plays during the credits.
Oh my God. That's like so sugary.
Chica Embarazada, which is pregnant girl.
Oh my God. It's very Pedro Almodovar, this. It's like where weird, funny, and spooky live. Because people are the most terrifying, Jeffrey.
Rapid fire black comedy. Let's talk about Teaching Jake the Camcorder, January 97, by very popular YouTube creator Brian David Gilbert, and co-written with Karen Hahn. So I'm only vaguely aware of Brian David Gilbert. I don't know if you've seen his stuff before at all.
Not at all.
He does a lot of stuff with Polygon, which is a gaming site and YouTube channel, and also he's done a ton of really funny videos, and so they vary wildly. It's kind of in this like 21st century sensibility of like horror and comedy, which I really hate blending the two. But yeah, it's in that kind of 21st century like world of like creepy, funny, spoopy stuff like that. And he's very clever. I think also, I believe, a musician as well. I think he does original songs sometimes. Anyways, his channel's wild. Good times. I went down a little bit of the rabbit hole after watching this, but this is a stylized analog horror.
Yep.
And we've got hand pressing a videotape into a VCR.
Very important to know that we are not watching the video. We are watching someone watch a video.
Correct. And we see 1997 dad. He's
oh my God, the most dad. He's got the mustache. He's young.
Jeans and a sweatshirt, short hair, glasses,
kind of squeaky voice. The most dad, the daddiest, the daddingest.
And again, I'm a big fan of repetition in storytelling. I think it's fun to kind of, in this movie,
this one takes a minute. You gotta it's stilted dialogue, which sounds stilted at first. And you're like, okay, am I just watching a YouTube? This. Hey, look at you, big filmmaker. You're going to be the next Steven Spielberg. Honey. Like it feels schmacky.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, here we are watching horror shorts, everybody can make that. But he goes through the whole skit. It's almost like goes through the scene.
We need a control group, right? This is the normal.
This is we got to establish this is what normal is, and Dad is explaining to a child, presumably. That's how you hold the camera. This is not how. You're hitting the zoom, and it zooms in on his face, and then he's like, "Oh, now hold it with both hands. Now remember to always go forward." Which again, we're gonna get into how does time work? You can only go forward. You don't want to hit the rewind button because you might record over a precious memory.
So we get through this whole bit. Rewind.
Yeah.
But again, this is not the camcorder rewinding. It is the VCR that we saw at the beginning rewinding, which is a great trick of this short film that makes you forget you're not watching it through the camera viewfinder. You're watching it on a VCR.
Yeah.
That is showing what was in the camera viewfinder. Really cool.
Hey, buddy, look at you holding the camcorder.
You're a regular Steven Spielberg.
You hear it again. However,
there's something different in this scene.
It's like slightly off frame.
And there's a weird figure just very briefly behind him that was not there the first time.
And it's like all in black. And I was like, is that a lamp? Not a lamp, but it's just over his shoulder. Oh, you hit the zoom in button. Oh, now we're going to zoom in. And I was like, that is a different part of his face that we zoomed in on than we did last time.
Because last time we zoomed in on his sweatshirt where it says 1994 class of whatever. And then this time it's like on his forehead. So like, wait a minute. You hit rewind on this tape, the VCR tape, and it is different, that memory.
And it's very much you saw that black shadow over his shoulder. You are not going to like, and it's very like, it's just out of frame, whatever you think you just saw, because it I was like, it looks like a person, but it didn't fully register as person.
Rewind. You're a regular Steven Spielberg's, and the zoom is different again on this third iteration. And he gets up.
Honey.
No, not yet. This one is where he gets close up to the camera because the kid, he's telling him about don't press the rewind button, don't press the record button again, or it'll stop recording. And then he stops and he just stares deep down the lens of the camera. He's like, God, no. Jake, it's good to see you, buddy.
Oh my
God, you're an adult.
Look at you.
Look at you. Wow.
I'm like, you get the impression Dad is gone.
Yeah. And so he's now seeing through the viewfinder, in through the TV and VCR,
staring down the barrel of the camera. Oh my God.
Rewind. You're a real Steven Spielberg. Hun, come take a look. And he goes to the hallway. Motherfucking just shadow
figure
man.
In black with this reminded. Do you remember we watched VHS?
Yeah.
Was it VHS? And there was like one of those horror shorts where there was like, it was kind of it was like Friday the 14th, Saturday the 14th, and it was like the the girl lures her friends to the lake house so that way they can be killed by like the glitch.
Yeah, Tuesday the 18th, I think is what that was called.
Looks like this is the glitch.
Yes.
But without the glitch. But it's figure dressed in black, like black stocking overhead.
Right, correct. And he's like, who are you? Who are you? Rewind.
Say something. Say something.
And we rewind, and then we're back to he keeps zooming in on Dad, and Dad's like, Jake, why do you keep watching this tape? Reliving it is not going to bring me back. I'm asking you to stop watching it, please. Eep. Rewind. And now this time Dad is like staring over and past Jake, just like the little sister from Abracitos.
Yeah.
Like he sees something behind Jake. Jake
camera
turns
swivels
the camera
around. There's a bunny. There's nothing there.
And then back to Dad, and he is gone.
Dad is just gone.
And then back to the dark hallway. Nothing there but pitch black hallway. And then I think we.
Well, no, and then it's like Dad. Maybe there's one more, or it's in this one. I can't remember what. The Dad is gone. But it's like, I think in the blackness, a door opens at the end of the hall and you see the figure of Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But when the door opens, it sort of has that orangey light but then you're in the room and a door opens on the background of the TV.
Mm-hmm. And
so whatever was on that video cassette has left the video cassette and is
in the room with adult Jake.
Or, maybe it's just, maybe it's his wife bringing us some snacks.
The end. Boy, it's good. It's good, like mind-bending, like 12 Monkeys bullshit here. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Like how repetition and small, like, it's like, the highlight thing of like, look at these two pictures, spot all the differences, how that can be scary to abnormalities. This is the same. Is it the same?
Mm-hmm.
Count all the spots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, let's talk about our 8th short. This is Bedfellows, creator Drew Daywalt.
I love this. So simple. This is simple, scary in the way that Lights Out is scary. It's it's the same length, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like simple concept.
Good execution. Nice and spooky, scary. You kind of know everything that's coming, right? There's woman in bed. We hear a clock ticking. See photos of her and her husband. There is the lump of another person next to her in bed.
They look like they're the cutest couple in the world.
Yeah.
He's got a dimple. She looks real approachable. They got married in wine country in Napa. Like typical, like you're like, okay, Yep.
Yeah. And then the landline phone rings. She's like, oh, fuck. And she can't, what is it? No. I'm sorry. Not landline phone. Her phone rings,
Yeah, her
but
phone
it's,
rings. Yeah, she's like,
I know what
honey,
it is.
would you get the phone?
Yeah, it's on his
fine.
side of the bed. It's on his nightstand.
And
so
he's
she has
not
to
waking
reach.
up. Yeah,
he's not waking up.
over.
Reach over, gets the phone. She answers it. Hey, Rach, it's Danny. I couldn't sleep, so I took a walk and I locked myself out. Can you let me in? And she is hunched over this figure, and now we get a shot from Danny's side of the bed. There's the scariest fucking face.
Like full on possum. There is a possum human in the bed that's like,
oh, it looks so wickedly happy about what's about to happen.
It just wants a snuggle.
And she's about to do the thing of like, who's in bed with me? And she starts to pull the covers back, and then just bam, huge jump scare as it launches up, and then cuts to credits with Rammstein, I think, playing.
Something.
Just German heavy metal.
Yeah. Like, talk about 1-2 punch. That's it.
It's so simple, but effective.
Like, you think you're in bed with someone you know and love, and it turns out that you're in bed with a demon.
If I were
haven't you been there? I've been there.
Sure. If I were doing an intro for each of these films like I do for every episode, this one would have been about a PB&J, right? Like, a PB&J is the simplest sandwich, but
sure,
if you do it right, you get the balance right, you have the right ingredients, it's going to be great. This is great. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what you want. I want creepy face, and I want a good jump scare. The end. All right, let's talk about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, created by Becky Sloan and Joseph Pelling.
Now, this is a 6-part.
Mm-hmm. I made the decision to do all 6 parts because I thought they do tell a very loose story that they kind of tie up. So I thought, let's just go ahead and just knock out their 6 webisodes that they did. They're all short. And all in all, it's about a 30-minute watch to get through all of these, if that much. But the most famous one is from, I think, 12 years ago. It's like 2011, 2010. Creativity is the topic of this. And we have our 3 main characters. We have Red, Yellow, and Green. They never get names. Red is a tall human. They're all puppets. This is a puppet musical.
Yep.
Red is a tall human form. Like, it's a human in a red jumpsuit with long, stringy hair that hangs over its face.
And 2 eyes that sit right on top of his head.
Yellow, which is kind of Red is the dullard. Like, he just speaks in a monotone. Everything's boring.
It's not a dullard.
He's adorable. But you know what? Not dullard.
It's very British, this.
Yes.
Keep in mind, this is like, it's like the friend that's like, well, I don't know if I want, like not Eeyore-ish, Eeyore energy.
Totally. Yellow is our bumpkin.
Yep.
He's more of like classic hand puppet of kind of humanish form. He's got a blue mullet mohawk.
Yeah.
Blue mullet faux hawk.
And like little blue overalls, like very kid like Bart Simpson, like, you know, but it
Ralph
looks
Wiggums
very,
almost.
yeah, absolutely.
And then we have Green, who is a duck, basically,
or a crow or
something.
Or bird.
Bird of some sort.
You know, what I love about this is in this very first one, I love because knowing where this is going to go.
You've seen these before, right?
I've only seen I think like the first 3.
Okay. Great.
But it's been 10 years since I've watched this. But I love the attention and the time it takes to set up the space in this. You know, shot of their bookshelf, shot of a sad looking black cactus, you know, but everything is felted. Like, and it really, and you like it, and none of the others do this, but like, it really is like, we are in make-believe land. We're in Sesame Street. Everything is such attention to detail, so crafted. Welcome to our, it's Blue's Clues, you know?
Yep. And then suddenly there's like a little notepad on the table. Hey. And they're all sitting in again, it is what is the shape called when everyone at the table faces
the camera.
Like, there's no one's back to the camera.
Yeah.
And then there's a little notepad, and it opens up, and what's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
That's not an idea.
No, I love it. I love the lyrics to this. Listen, I don't want to do a sing along, but we could throughout because the lyrics to these songs in every episode, each episode, save for 6, is a single song about a different idea. They're absurd, they're funny, they're bleak. It's very existential dread throughout. And
let's talk about creativity and ideas.
It's a kid show, right? Like it's about inspiring children.
3 minutes.
Creative.
Here's like and each one. So it's like, okay, so we've got creativity, we've got computers,
creativity, time, love is the third one. 4 is computers. 5 is food.
Food.
5 is food, and 6 is
dreams. That's it.
I think what ties this all together with the creativity, because when we get to the end, so Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared ultimately is an existential thing. Like, what does it mean to be alive? We're going to play with in future episodes, like, are these people real? Are they creations? Are they living in a simulation? Are they puppets? Are they computer animated? Like, it's all about the layers of reality.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's about the layers of creativity. Like, it is the idea of, like, what can you even imagine? Like, are you even able to imagine every possibility? Anyways.
But let's start with getting creative.
And what
is that? That's just a boring old cloud. But I see a hat. I see a cat. I see a ladder on a baseball bat. Like that kind of shit.
And then the first moment that things go wrong, which is great when you show this, is that Yellow he says, I might paint a picture of a clown. Whoa there, friend. You might need to slow down. And then just black tar dribbles all over it.
So creative. Okay, so the notepad which is, the thing you find about all these, the guest stars on, who comes to sing a song. There's agendas. Like the notepad, the fucking the sex cult butterfly has an agenda.
Yep.
To say the least. The technology, that's the first one. The other one's like, okay, like go out and find some leaves and sticks and arrange them in a word that makes up your favorite color. Red, yellow, green. Green is not a creative color, which is, I love this because, what? Shut up, notepad.
Yep.
Fuck you.
It's so good. And what happens is that we get into, finally, the notepad's like, let's all get creative. And then we get into the music goes wild. The shots of the puppets go wild because we see them in like all 3 of them. The table's gone. All 3 of them are humans in full body suits.
Yeah.
Dancing.
So their bodies are changing and it's a little frantic. Also, you've got this sort of like above shot of like the red hand, like putting
glitter,
googly eyes on something. The yellow hand of just spreading glitter. But then that turns into, let's put glitter on a human heart. A piece of meat.
And there's also this really significant point that when this video first came out, I remember talking to people about it way back in 2011 or whatever, that there's a moment in the middle of it where they all turn into blocky computer animation. Yeah. And the camera, as it were, turns around, 360s the table, and you see behind them a set of computer animated lights and cameras.
Yeah. And so like, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, take 1.
And it immediately draws into question, like, what is reality? Because it's not just breaking the fourth wall of, if you have a live action set and you turn the camera around to show the other cameras, that makes sense. But this is computer animation.
Yeah, you
of a
animated
show
a computer
to
put, or you animated a camera.
So those cameras are triply not real, which is incredible. It's and especially once we get to the final episode of this, it's really remarkable, like what they're playing with what all the layers of what reality cannot possibly be, and it hurts your head to think about. I think my favorite shot in all of this is the weird human organ that slithers into a mouse hole.
Oh my
briefly.
God, it's the best. Just sucks right up into a mouse hole.
And in the end, it cuts back to them all sort of disheveled around the table. And they're sitting back at the table, and the notebook just says, "Now let's all agree to never be creative again." Close. The end.
Goodbye.
Part 2, time.
Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock.
Only 5 minutes until our show is on.
I
That's
love
too
this
much time,
because this is legit me every time. I'm like, okay, I have 7 minutes before this Zoom podcast record with Jeffrey. What am I going to do with 7 minutes? That's not enough time to do anything, but too much time to just sit there and stare at the carpet.
Yep. And then suddenly the clock on the wall has legs and arms, and it is just
Who are you?
Standing in the room. And it is singing a song about the miracle of time.
It moves
the past
in one
is far
direction.
behind. The future doesn't exist.
Moves in one direction. And I like, and it's again the weird subtle changes as things get more unhinged. Like here's your day. It's like food, bed, a syringe.
Yep. A recurring thing when you talk about these other characters that appear, there's always a fourth character that appears in this group.
The lesson of the day.
Yeah, the lesson of the day.
The guest of the day.
And as you said earlier, I think it's a great word. They all have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do they have an agenda, like they have strict boundaries.
Yeah.
Like boundaries that if you break will make them very angry.
Yeah. And fuck up the illusion.
That notepad was not happy with the clown, was not happy with the color green. Like those are not, and it is kind of the way in which an unskilled adult deals with children. Like, no, don't do that. Don't stop.
Why can't I color outside the lines? Because I told you to. That's why.
Yeah. And so in the way in which life has a set of rules that everyone is trying to keep you contained within them, but they also do not want to be talked over, because there's a moment in time where Green kind of understands it, and it's like, actually, time is just a human perception. It's an illusion created by, and then that clock is like,
do not want. I will not listen to this. Just like plugging its fingers in its felt ears.
And that notepad at the beginning was like, I use my hair to express myself. And Red says, that sounds pretty boring. I use my hair to express myself. Like the repeat is so passive aggressive.
This is such a moment. This is such a moment. I mean, like, it's hard not to, entangle Night Vale in this moment. But totally. There is such this humor that is like simultaneous. It looks plush and cushy on the outside, but is actually very bleak and existential on the inside. Is so Night Vale. And also it appeals. I kept thinking about the title, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It like, I mean, listen, if you're an indoor kid, this is the moment of like super hulock Tumblr, like, I'm having feelings.
And boundaries. I'm having feelings and boundaries right at this moment.
And that is all that. And I was like, wow, this is taking me back. And it was like, I use my hair to express myself. That sounds boring. I use my hair to express my, like, no, okay. All right. Fine.
This one,
do not approach the dog park. Okay, whatever you want me to say, I'll say it. Listen, I don't know what you need from me. I'm just an actor.
Yeah. In the time video, it ends with them all growing old, and like not just growing old, but like decaying, like skin melting off to bones, which is funny because they're puppets.
There's no bones under there. Have you ever seen Peter Greenaway's film, like The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover?
No,
famous
I haven't
one.
seen that.
But there's one called like Zoo, a Z, and Two Knots that is about a lot of shit, but there's a lot of long extended decomposition scenes in it, and it reminded me of this.
Okay.
However, in this, it's so fucking delightful because these are puppets.
Yeah.
Puppets aren't made of meat.
No.
But they are.
And
they also get like hot pink like mealworms.
Yes.
On felt.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared have learned, is that if you put meat on top of craft, like craft a crafted thing, it is the most jarring thing that they could possibly do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they use meat and viscera quite a bit in their shows.
Yeah, I would say I think it's time they start serving them like pieces of meat pie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's in the first one. They do run together.
Yeah,
they start to blend.
Time closes with all of them melting and screaming in pain and horror when let me die, basically. And then it pans away and they're all on the television. So that was, and then they're in the living room again watching it. So the whole thing was the show that they were waiting to watch.
Yes, is themselves.
Episode 3, Love. They're off for a
they took a little
chicken picnic.
Oh, shut up with your uncooked chicken picnic. Look, we brought this chicken picnic. It's like bleh.
Raw chicken thighs in a
It's also like everything
basket.
is the same color.
And then a little like butterfly flies close to it, and Green swats it with a fly swatter and says, "Pesky bee."
Pesky bee.
I love that's a very Night Vale convention that I use all the time, of like Cecil not understanding what something is.
Yeah. Just everything is a bee to him.
Yeah. And then
Yellow just sort of gets up and walks away, and
he gets upset. He gets upset at the violence, and he runs off.
Oh no, you got to have some feelings now.
And here comes that pesky bee, the little thing to
Which
talk
is in
to
fact
him.
a butterfly.
And he's like, "Oh, look, a baby pigeon."
See that? No, child.
And the bee sings a lovely musical number about, you ever wondered why we're here? We can live in harmony. We can understand about love. These are the things.
Do you feel sad? Do you feel embarrassed?
And he takes him
another feeling.
Takes him to Cloudland. Yep. Up in the sky. Love is a place. Love is a thing. Love is a place. Love is a thing.
Look at these other people, and maybe one day, and that's what friends are for. Friends are love. Look, here's some new friends. Look, there's a badger and I don't know, fucking weird, other things that live in the clouds. And look, they're really excited to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like without strings.
Yeah. And he talks about understanding the feeling inside. And he says, "Oh, I get it. I'm hungry." And he goes, "No, you're lonely." And I'm like, "Oh shit, tag yourself. I'm that line."
Yeah.
And oh my God, they have this fucking dog that he meets up there where he starts, "Hello, little furry friend." He starts petting him and the dog's like, "Harder."
Yeah, I know, right? But they're like, okay, so now listen, love is great, but you might meet your special someone. You're trying to say
special one. Everyone has a special one.
Everyone. So do I have a special one? Well, here, let's go look at this tree that has a story. Abrupt shift, black and white animation.
A black and white, like 2D. What do you call
that
style?
It almost looks like German Gothic.
Yeah.
Woodcut style.
Yeah.
Like
little paper dolls that you shift on the page to animate. And this is the story of Michael, the loneliest boy in town. But then when they start the song,
isn't the ugliest boy in town?
No. So he says, he says in speech, I will tell you the story of Michael, the loneliest boy in town. Then it goes into song and he says, "This is the story of Michael, the ugliest boy in town." And I love that change of words.
Oh my God. And he looks like a very precocious, normal looking, sad, open-faced boy.
He lived on his own underground. He lived on his own underground. And then that's it.
And you're just like, and I think
they're like, see, even Michael has a special one.
Is that me? Am I? Wait. Oh, even he has it, but we didn't see the special. Okay, sure. But don't worry, because we all worship a god named Trevor or Gerald. Malcolm.
And we must feed him gravel, or he becomes angry.
I was like, this is a cult, because what we're gonna do is we're just gonna wash your brain. Give us all your belongings. Yeah, but give up this ring. Give us all your belongings. Classic. I love a good cult.
It's so good. And then suddenly, in the terror, he wakes up, and there's
he's still in the tree. Yeah,
he's still in the tree. There's red and green. They're like, "Oh, there you are. We brought you a boiled egg, the last boiled egg, to cheer you up."
Oh, for me.
And they crack it open with a spoon, and the little
it's mucus, like a meat worm
that's crawls out, and it looks at Yellow and goes, "Father."
Yeah, it's like, no. Smush.
Yellow crushes
pesky
it. Pesky bee. I love it during the credits of this when they show the puppeteers burning down the Malcolm puppet.
Yes, and it looks like somebody's dad. It's totally because
so
if you
good.
think about like I don't want to presume the life of these filmmakers, but it feels like what started. I don't know if they had an idea like to do this overarching over a series, or if it was like we made one and then it gained popularity and then it became two and then two became three and then three became six. But it does have this feeling of a comment on creative artists making something that is essentially puppets learning a lesson about noun, time, love, computers, but wanting to break out of the box of people being like, when you made that first one and it was a bunch of funny puppets singing a funny song about time, just do that again. And do that again and do that again. And it's about creative professionals trying to break out of the box that other people have made for them.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because there is at least from the writer or creator side of things, not from the actor point of view, but like from that side, like I relate to it and I don't feel trapped by like the success of Night Vale by any stretch, but there is a level, not in a bad way because I love doing it, but there is a part of me that's like, oh, that's the first thing that took off and it did. And so you're like, wow, we get to make more of this, and you do get to make more of this, and you get to keep making it. But there is a thing when I have moments, Joseph talked about this on our Patreon of like shopping a novel he wrote around and not getting any buyers from it. And it was not a Night Vale novel, and it's
because people want this thing,
and that's where you start to feel like, oh, I have to do the same thing that Night Vale did for what Night Vale is, meaning I have to create something that on its own creates a sensation.
Yes.
And I don't know how to do that because so much of that is an accident.
However, we live in a digital age in which any feedback is instantaneous.
Sure, totally.
The amount of, I can only presume what your life is like as a creator of Night Vale, but like for me, even just like I get the shrapnel fallout.
Yeah.
People are like, I saw the live show. It wasn't scary enough. You should make them more scary. Here's my favorite character. Make a scary live show with this character in which they go to the dog park. And I'm like,
yeah.
So so it's Taco Tuesday every night is what you want.
Yeah.
Except now it's Spaghetti Tuesday and now it's Meatloaf Tuesday. And like, but it to me is like this overarching series is about when you make something, it's amazing. And you want to expand and push boundaries, but the people that have fallen in love with it.
I want to push back against that though.
Okay.
Because I don't think I have this argument with creators all the time. Sarah Griffin, I have this conversation because I don't think it's about other people that consume what you do pushing you to do something else. I think it's how much of that you allow in. Because I think early on, I got an onslaught of people saying like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I just stopped responding to it. I think I still get it. But I think the thing is that like you have the choice to like take it in or not. So I think it is the thing of like
agreed.
It's more about the feeling you feel as the artist.
Yeah.
When you allow that in, right? And you can't keep all of it out. It's not a matter that you have the choice to say like, oh, I've blocked it out. I don't even know, because you do have to have your ear to fans.
What's like when people say, I have a great idea for a Night Vale episode. Can I tell you? And you're like, please not.
Don't never do that. No, it's fine. I'm glad that you do, but please don't tell it to me.
Like when and it is such but it's such an internet age thing because a YouTube, a podcast, here's your product, you put it out, and then here's 30 comments. And Tamika's my favorite character. When are we getting more Tamika? Koshek is my favorite character. When are we getting more Koshek?
Yeah.
Like it's different than I wrote a novel. If you would like to write a fan letter to your favorite novelist, it goes through their publisher takes it and they put it in a pile. And then you as the writer get to decide if you want to read it or not. This is there.
Yeah.
And everyone can see it.
Totally. It's totally it. And I think the struggle from the artist point of view is not, I think my pushback is that I'm not centering the discourse on fans. I'm centering it on the artist, which is to say, yes, part of the idea of being an artist in the 21st century is having constant feedback.
Yeah.
And it's what you do. And you always feel the pressure of it. And it's good to feel the pressure because sometimes people teach you things that you should know. Especially about, I don't think when I started Night Vale, I had a full understanding of what pronoun usage was about. Do you know what I mean? Like and our fans have a lot of that knowledge, and it got shared with me. And so, yeah, I think there's ways in which you learn certain things. I've definitely had fans point out a continuity error that I'm like, you know what? Awesome point.
Is Steve Carlsberg his stepbrother, his brother-in-law, that whole debacle,
stuff like that.
But to me, the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared arc is, here's a funny song with a guest star puppet.
Totally.
Here's another funny song with a guest star puppet. Here's a funny song with a guest star puppet. And the puppets start leaving by number 4.
Yeah.
They start tapping out.
Yeah.
It's the change in that. And that to me, the struggle is, as a creator, you're like, you try to make something and you make it good. People love that thing, but you are constantly thinking, am I just going to cookie cutter the same thing every single week? Or am I going to expand?
Yeah, and they make
new territories and
directions. They made the option to expand by, and then in episodes 3, when we get to computers, actually, computers is where we start. 4, 5, and 6 is where that goes. Let's accelerate through these because we are going very long. So episode 4 is our computers episode, right? And again,
I wish there was a way we could learn about things.
I'm a computery guy. Again, as Red tries to stop he's like, please stop talking. He tries to turn the computer off, and the computer's like, don't touch me.
Oh my God.
That's so scary. And then we get into digital horror. We bring back the digital stuff from episode 1.
Yep.
This is where I'm like, I love this because this is like thinking about myself in Night Vale. Like, we write a bunch of episodes that kind of are one-off, sort of like, we're just world building. I don't know. We're playing with these characters. And then suddenly you're like, okay, I'm seeing through lines here. I'm seeing some things I can bring back. And they bring back this digital thing. And I love that the computer is like, this is your digital home. You're not you, you're digital you. But then you is controlling your digital you. And in the digital world, there's over 3 things to do. Look, a line graph, digital styles, digital dancing. Hey, this is fun. And that repeats.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum.
Which is just, isn't that the fulfilling thing? Like, listen, as long as all you need is some graphs, all you need is like a skin to put on, like, oh, look, now you're a cowboy. Now you're in a tuxedo and a funny TikTok dance.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that all you need to keep people entertained these days?
Totally is. I think about the number of times I've gotten hey, you're watching TikTok for too long. I'm like, fuck.
Like, how did I do this?
I'm like the girl in Face of God or Portrait of God. I'm like 3 hours later,
too long. You're like, oh my God, what happened?
And after all of this repetition, it's the chaos is the horror of this, like the constant chaos of the
disintegration loops. Yeah,
disintegration loops, and we end up alone in the kitchen at night where we started, but it's dark and it's just Red sitting at the computer watching all of this happen on the screen. And he gets up and walks out the door to the side of the kitchen, and suddenly there's an analog set with all of their characters now are a red mop for red, a yellow balloon for yellow, and an actual duck for green.
Great.
A man in a black jumpsuit comes on with the giant clacker and says, cut.
Yeah.
And Red's head explodes into glitter at the end.
The end. Number 5.
Now it's just yellow and green at the table. Something's different. What could be different?
And there's like pictures. There's like Red, the 3 of them doing, friendly things. What's going on? They're in the kitchen.
The cutest character in this whole series is this fucking loaf of bread on the counter that's drumming on the peanut butter jars.
But also is like kind of bad at it. Like it's like its arm falls off at one point.
Meat and steak, cheese and beef, meat and steak. It's so cute.
So we got the bread. We've got a kind of janky looking can of spinach. And a giant steak with tap dancey shoes.
Yes. And the confusion of what the nutritional lessons that they're teaching here.
I know, it's amazing. Some foods are rude.
And I love that the healthy foods are a piece of bread and a pizza, but the rude foods are a carrot and an egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have these, it's the puppetry in this grade is they have a whole diagram of like the body is like a house. The food comes through the chimney, mouth. It goes through all these passages, and the good foods are nice to the organs and they're asked to stay, and bad foods must leave through the cat flap.
Which is like a cheeseburger.
Yes. But during all of this, so it's just yellow and green, but the phone keeps ringing on the wall.
Yes. Oh my God. This is so Mulholland Drive.
Uh-huh. And Green goes to answer it, and all the music stops and everybody's just staring at him, which is even creepier. And on the other end, it shows camera cuts to like an operating room where Green is on the table, like chest cavity cut open.
Waiting to more viscera.
Ugh. I love the songs that they're singing because they're talking about, they do the giant steak sings about all the different the food groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to pause and look at all the food groups. One of them is milk/cigarettes, which I love. There's one called curry.
Yes.
One is fancy show-offy foods.
Show-offy foods, which is like vegetables.
Yes. Fruit salad. Yep.
Yeah. And then what is it, like good foods? No, it's like simple foods. I don't know, but they're all white. It's like cream sauce.
The healthy foods are white sauce, aspic, and cream.
That's it. Yep. Yeah.
Fancy show-offy foods clog up the body.
Like fruit salads.
But we keep cutting back to this operating room and the phone ringing, Green answering it, cutting back to the operating room. And as it goes on, we start seeing it from Green's point of view on the operating table. And there's a giant version of Yellow with these dull, heavily spaced out teeth just devouring organs. And what we realize is Yellow is eating Green in this alternate reality. I don't know.
But then it cuts to the kitchen. The steak is gone. The spinach is gone. Green is gone. And Yellow is just like fat, just like stuffed to the gills. And it feels implied that Yellow has eaten his friends.
And on the table, on the countertop now, are open cans
of crow.
Crow, and it has Green's face on it.
Or duck, or whatever crow, whatever.
And or whatever he is. And then the phone rings, credits. And in this one, it's a good lead in. This is kind of the first indication that we kind of know we're hinting at where we're going, that we probably have already written episode 6, because the credits of this is a live action shot of Red wearing a trench coat, like very British looking, walking out of an old school red phone booth with carrying a briefcase, like on his way to work. 6's dreams. Yellow is crying in bed alone, looking at a scrapbook, and the lamp won't let him sleep because he wants to sing him a song about how dreams work.
He's like, shut up. This is true internet age humor, which, like, do you like to sleep? Now is the time when your brain is going to be most active.
I love that they're so good at like numbering things, right? Like in the digital world, there are 3 things. There are over 3 things to do. In this one, the 2 types of dreams you can have are you can have a dream about riding a horse, or you could have a dream about drowning in oil.
Great. That's your options.
But the story here is really about Red.
Yeah.
And he is back in his normal dead end, like
job,
where it's a bunch of people that look exactly like him, talk exactly like him, are all unimaginative and dull. When I said dull at the beginning, it's kind of what I meant, like the idea of like just direct, just very British, dry.
I need those TPS reports on my desk. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this folder came to life and was like, I'm a folder, and everybody like, and of course it's an office full of tall, red, expressionless mop heads.
Yeah.
They're like, that's dumb.
No, that sounds
Get
boring.
back to work. Yeah.
And then they're at a bar. He's at a bar later surrounded by a bunch of Reds all drinking and on dates. And you overhear one conversation I wrote down. The guy's this one random red guy is saying, I'm the cool guy, I guess. I'm laid back and sad.
Yeah, that's it. Isn't that life in England, I'd imagine?
And Red gets up on stage, and there's a pianist on stage that they're all at this nightclub, and the pianist is just banging slowly on keys.
Yeah.
Brong, 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 brong. And our Red gets up there, no clothes on, like he is in the puppet show, and they're like, gross, he's naked.
He's got a boombox, and he sings, Let's Get Creative. He sings the creative song. But with like a little hand puppet.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative. That's just a boring old orange.
Not if you look creatively.
Yeah, and they'll start booing. I don't like it. It's not very good at all. That's their booing. It's just so laid back and sad.
Yeah.
But at the back, he sees, I forgot to mention this earlier, in episode 3 Time, one of the throwaway lyrics is Yellow is like, I invented my dad. You see this like horrifying looking grizzled old very man who is too tall.
Man, yeah, but eyes in the wrong, like it
crooked nose,
misfigured.
Yes. Tall yellow dad, basically. Yeah. And at the back, Red sees the back table is Yellow Dad. And he gets off. Oh, and he panics for a second. He looks down and the mic is talking to him. The microphone is now a puppet.
That's right.
And then suddenly he finds him, boom, in the Black Lodge, right?
Yeah.
Tile, black and white tile floor.
Black and white tile. I love the glittery drop.
Oh, wait. The glittery.
So what is the backdrop is like streamers that are the backdrop of the comedy club. Very like ubiquitous brick wall comedy club, but like ubiquitous gold streamers drops.
Yes, that's right.
Very Black Lodge.
It's so good. And in there, he finds this giant computer mainframe and he sees the lamp singing to Yellow that we saw at the beginning. And he starts just playing with switches and knobs. And I like this idea of this is kind of a classic trope of like Dark City, right? Remembering you didn't remember something that you think is your actual life. And by turning the knobs, he's just changing the narrator. He's changing the one with the agenda.
The guest star. Yeah.
The guest star. So then it's computer, then it's clock, then it's pesky bee, then it's the steak and the canned food, and
then it's other things we haven't seen before.
It's a football. It's a magnet.
Sports. Yeah, but normal things would be like, okay, here's the agenda. With 3 friends, and then we have what's something we could be creative. We could play sports. We could go on nature hike. But the usual, then we could just do this forever. Just put one for the other.
Yeah. I like the shovel. Let's dig a hole.
I know.
It's just so ridiculous. But he keeps turning. It's like frantic, and he doesn't know what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And suddenly a hand on his shoulder. It's Yellow. And the longest fucking arm.
Like that goes across an infinite room.
Yeah. Filled with cigarette smoke or whatever. And it's Yellow Dad, and Red jumps back and he follows the power cord. And it's a giant power cord on the wall. I wonder what will happen. And he unplugs it. And then zap, we're back at the beginning scene. But red is now blue. Yellow is
teal.
Green.
Yeah.
Green is red.
Yeah.
And the calendar, every scene, every one of these series we see in their house, it always says June 19th on the wall.
Yeah.
On their wall calendar. And that flutters off and it just says June 20th. What's your favorite idea? Mine is end.
Amazing.
It's so good. Shall we rate these? How do we even do these? Listen,
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Great times. Horror approachability.
Shorts are great.
I will say this. If you're horror squeamish, 10 steps, I think, is a 7. I think that's approachable. Don't hug me. I'm scared. Very approachable. Teaching Jake about the camcorder, I think you can handle. Good
Bedfellows,
hands.
The Face of God.
But Face of God,
Abracitos,
Lights Out. Those fuckers are scary.
Those are 7/8. 8s, 9s, good
no,
hands.
No. Those are like 1s. Those are scary.
The opposite direction. Yes,
yeah,
sorry,
for
opposite
approachability.
direction.
Yeah. But if you're horror squeamish, I think you can do 10 steps. Don't hug me, I'm scared. Teaching Jake about the camcorder. Maybe good hands, but it's because it's so wacky comedy. So those are my thoughts. Anything else you want to add on rating these things?
No, I love horror shorts.
I love it. I can't wait to do this again on Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening.
This month.
Oh, it is this month. We get 2 in a month.
Yeah.
And join our Patreon, because we'll keep asking Patreon for more of these horror shorts, and we'll do live streams of movies and things. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. Happy Friday 13th. And if you have thoughts on any of these horror shorts, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or over on Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not have to be a paying member to participate in those. And watch A Quiet Place with us this week for next Tuesday's episode. Have a restful night with no worshippers failing to feed you gravel or nothing.